Hello and welcome to Last Call. It's halftime of the Indianapolis Greyhounds and the Missouri S&T Miners, and a UINDY production, a UINDY TV production here. Last Call right here on the GLVC Sports Network. It's usually on Monday nights, but a conflict today because of the UINDY women's basketball game against the Missouri S&T Miners. So Caden Colford and Scher on the call of the game, and now a quick halftime show for you. Hope you're entertained by this. So we're going to start with some UINDY sports, actually, Caden, and let's start with the women's basketball team, who's now 3-2 on the year. You just watched them for a half. What have you seen from them this year that has been a little bit different?
You know, you get out to a slow start in Ashland and their first game this year, but we got to remember Ashland was #1 in the country. So you drop the first two, and then it seems like they just flipped a switch.
Yeah.
You know, they just flipped that switch of energy, and now on the boards, there's some monsters, absolute monsters. You have Patty Chikamba, who's standing at no more than 5'7", 5'8", and she's bringing home double-digit performances in the rebound column almost every game out. So, I mean, you have that emphasis on the boards and also defensively, you know, keeping teams under probably that 60-point mark throughout the majority of the season. And that just bids well. And like I said, you know, that flip just switched. We're seeing a whole new team. Yeah,
definitely recipe for success. We've got great offense and great defense. That it's helping them in the win column. 3-2 on the year. They just came off a win against Upper Iowa. Now they're playing Missouri S&T. The Greyhounds have a little homestand here. They have a couple of home games, and it'll be fun to watch them play. We're going to get to the Colts and the Pacers, but first, going down that list of UINDY sports, UINDY men's basketball. They're now 2-4 on the year, and they've dropped a couple of close ones here after a fantastic year last year. Push that aside. They came into the year ranked number 5 in the nation, and they haven't lived up to expectations. They graduated a couple of seniors, but they brought in plenty of transfers. What have you seen from them here early on in the year?
I think we're all scratching our heads as to why they're 2-4. Right, but talking to Paul Corsaro, coach of the Greyhounds before the season, he always made sure to really pound on the point that this is a different team than last year. You're bringing back Jesse Bingham, Kendrick Choa, Josiah Tynes, 3 crucial players in their success last season. And, you know, with the transfers, it just hasn't clicked yet. We've seen one game, their last game here at Nicoson Hall against
Thomas More.
Thank you, Graham, for that. And we saw their shooters really get involved, and they came out with the win in that one. I think, you know, Paul says that this is the best shooting team that he's had here in his time at UINDY.
Sure.
So when that team is shooting like they were against Thomas More, you saw a lot of success. But when the shots aren't falling, the lane's too clogged, and the ball's not moving as well as it needs to be. And once that ball does get moving, once shots get falling, I think we see a different season. But up to this point, we haven't seen that.
Greyhound basketball not in the best spot for the men's team, especially because they just continue to find themselves in these close games down the stretch, and they have not been able to close them out. They will have a chance, though. Thursday is their next game here at Nicoson Hall. It's against Southwest Baptist, and then they have another game on Saturday. You can catch all that here on the GLVC Sports Network and UINDY TV, so that'll be a fun matchup. Moving on to UINDY Soccer. They are hosting the NCAA, I believe it's the quarterfinals this weekend, right here at Key Stadium on the campus of UINDY. They have had a fantastic year so far, and they're hosting Lewis at 3:30 p.m. on Friday for a couple of other GLVC opponents, the McKendree Bearcats and the Maryville Saints. It'll be a 12 p.m. start time also on Friday, so that'll be a couple of fun matchups, and then they'll play the winners will keep advancing for as long as they keep winning. Let's move on and talk some other Indianapolis sports, some football. The Colts, they had a home game yesterday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Colts looked pretty good. They ended up winning that one 27-20. Caden, the Colts they've looked pretty good so far. Now they're above 500 at 6-5 on the year. What have you seen from them that now they're all the way up at the 7th position in the wild card?
I think it's really bringing back Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Because what that has done has just completely opened up this run game, which takes a lot, and I mean a lot of pressure off Gardner Minshew. You know, Gardner Minshew is coming in with, you know, pretty high expectations, even being a backup quarterback.
Sure.
And the guy has limited weapons to throw to in terms of wide receivers. Of course, we're seeing Josh Downs coming to his element, but he was dropping a couple yesterday. But Michael Pittman had a great game. But going back to Jonathan Taylor, he just opens everything up because, defenses have to play the run now. They have to account for this guy's weapons and just this attack on offense. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns yesterday, Graham.
Yeah. In Indianapolis, who has now won 3 straight games, first against the Panthers in Carolina. That one was 2 pick sixes by Kenny Moore and just a domination from the start. Then they went to Germany. They played the Patriots. They beat them in a 1-score game. Then they came home on a bye week after the Germany game, and now this week they beat the Buccaneers. So they've won 3 straight. Their next couple of games, though, they have the Tennessee Titans next week, and then they have the Cincinnati Bengals without Joe Burrow, sitting at 6-5, won 3 straight, now in the wild card spot. How do you see them kind of closing out the year? 6 or 7 more weeks, I believe, 7 more weeks. How do you see them closing out the year?
I think this really, really falls heavily on Coach Steichen because the pieces are there, but everything has to go right if you want to, kind of creep into a wild card spot. Obviously, these next 2 against the Titans and the Burrowless Bengals are 2 very, very winnable games. And if you want to be where you want to be at the end of the season, these are 2 must-win games because, for one, they're huge momentum builders, and it's so much harder to play from behind than it is to play ahead in the National Football League.
Plenty of winnable games coming up for the Indianapolis Colts. Should be an excellent close to the season. The Colts are starting to look pretty good. Should be a fun rest of the final 6 weeks here of the year. Let's move on and talk some NBA. Also here in Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers, they are rocking and rolling right now, up to 9-6. They just got a win over the Detroit Pistons, albeit one of the worst teams in the East, but they've looked pretty strong here. They did lose, however. I believe they lost to the Raptors. They also lost to the Magic, but they did beat the Hawks, one of the best teams in the East, but they're about to go on the road. They have a game coming up tonight against the Trailblazers right here in Indy at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Then they go on the road for 6 games. Let's go back to the beginning, though. Talk about what the Pacers have been doing so well that you have liked to see.
Pacers are scoring the ball.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they play such a fast-paced offense. They're putting up a lot of shots. And when the shots are falling, hey, this could be one of the best teams in the NBA, sneakily. I mean, they're looking like almost favorites, I dare say, to win the in-season tournament the way they're running the table right now. And it's all set up by Tyrese Halliburton. The guy can run an offense, Grant. It is so much fun to watch. But, keeping the blue and gold in check, there's 0 defense on that squad. Of course, you have Miles Turner, the defensive anchor, in there picking up 1 or 2 blocks a game, but still on the perimeter, just against these teams like the Magic, you can't let them put up 150, 160 points a game. Of course, you have the Pacers putting up historic numbers in the scoring column, but, when it comes time for postseason basketball later in the season, if shots aren't falling, you can't use that as an excuse. There needs to be some defense in Indianapolis.
So for the Pacers, who they've gotten rolling here to start the year. They're 9-6. They're in the playoffs. If the season were to end today, they're in the playoffs. But do you see them sustaining this level of offense, and do you see them picking up that level of defense here over the next several months of basketball?
It's hard to say. Honestly, I think there needs to be some personnel changes, especially within the bigs of the program, because Miles Turner, he can go out and have a great defensive outing, but if he's the only one playing defense out of the 5, you're still going to let up 150, 160, and as I said, that just doesn't translate to wins later in the season.
So for the Pacers, they're now 9-6. They've beaten some of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. The Pacers they're rolling right now. If you had to pick a seed at which they finished the season at, what do you think they finished the season at?
Well, I'll give you a ceiling, and I'll give you a floor. How about that? I think they can get to the 3 seed. If shots are falling, they get to the 3 seed. If shots are not falling, I think they make play in at 9. I think they're in between 3 and 9. Okay.
Pacers and the Trailblazers tonight at Gainbridge. Who you got in that one?
Give me the Pacers,
I got
honestly.
the Pacers as well. They're rolling right now. I think their offense gets it done against Portland.
Me too.
Well, that's Last Call right here on the GLVC Sports Network. You can catch Last Call on UINDY TV on YouTube every Monday at 6 o'clock. UINDY TV on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in to this shortened, albeit fun edition of Last Call right here on UINDY TV and the GLVC Sports Network. Coming up, second half action of the UINDY Greyhounds and the Missouri S&T Miners women's basketball game right here, UINDY TV and the GLVC Sports Network.